Hello, and welcome back to another update on my running a northern layout and scale. This is my entrance room to my layout room here. You can see I added a couple decorations there on the door, and we're entering into the actual layout room. Keep in mind this is very much work in process, so there are a lot of things that look unfinished and untidy, but I thought I would just show what I've been able to accomplish in the past year. The last time I did an update was July of last year. This is my electrical shelf here under the layout. I just turned it on. I use a strip, and basically that turns all the power on for the layout and some of the lighting, layout lighting. First part of the layout here that you come into is the Reading staging yard. This here would be the north end of the yard I'm showing you. And there's room here to classify about 90 cars. Each of the back 3 tracks will hold about 30 cars in storage, depending on the length of the cars. And then the first 2 tracks I use as a departure and arrival track. Okay, and immediately above the Reading staging yard is the branch line that runs up to Schuylkill. This is totally new from the last update. Last update I had track laid over to about here, and wasn't even track, I guess, over this far as a road bed, and it showed how it was going to go around and disappear behind a mountain, which I haven't made yet, but the track does disappear around and it comes across this bridge and into the borough of Schuylkill. I have a couple industries and businesses here to switch I can service with my train. There's a freight house directly across from the passenger station. Just down this track will be a propane dealer. It's not anywhere near constructed yet, but this is just kind of for show. This is my newest locomotive I bought recently. It's a Reading and Northern 425 Pacific, and I'm quite pleased with it. It's a Broadway Limited Imports model. It has sound and it's digital, DCC. It works very well. Continuing on, these 3 tracks in the back are representing the West Cursona yard. This large, looks like a grain handling complex here in the front is actually the KT Products Company. They bring in various grains and seeds and use them to make pet feed, like bird seed and stuff like we use outside. I put up a backdrop. It's 1/8-inch masonite, and I painted it, put the clouds on. And coming out of Cursona, you come into Minersville, which is where a major coal processing anthracite colliery is located. It's a breaker. It's not totally completed yet, but you get a pretty good idea of how it will look. It uses a flood loader for loading the hopper cars, and also front-end loaders can be put in service to load the hoppers from the side. And here in the back side we have the dumping pit where mine trucks bring raw coal in, dump it in the pit, runs up here and up into the breaker as processed, and it's put back out on conveyors. There's one big large pile of coal here in the front, and another one out the side of the building back there. Eventually I'm going to put a couple more conveyors on this building, a few more piles of coal. This building here is totally freelanced. I call it the Champion Candy Company. I just had something to put in here. I was originally going to make this a Tredegar plastics film plant, but I happen to have this building from an earlier layout, and it was already lettered and everything for Champion Candy, so I decided to change the industry. I'm not a total purist when it comes to the railroad. I try to keep it, somewhat close to what's actually there, but it's not totally accurate. This track here, where it curves around the backdrop, that goes into Port Clinton, and it follows the riverbed. The little Schuylkill River comes up and around here, and the track crosses the little Schuylkill River, but right before it does, there's a junction here, Westford Junction, and that track curves around behind a hill. And I'm just now starting to work on this portion of the layout. This is the newest edition, if you will. And this is going to represent a branch line going to St. Clair. Again, not all these industries are what's actually there. There are some buildings that I had previously constructed. This one here is an oil dealer, and there's a scrap yard there in the back, and this is a cold storage warehouse. I'm not sure what this is going to be. Possibly a packing and moving company or something to that effect. And these are just temporary. They're not even in final locations or anything. And obviously there's no track now. This will be the Yingling Brewing Company back here. This back section here is 3 feet long and 12 inches deep will be the Yingling Brewing. Now we're going around the end again of the peninsula and through the swing gate. And again, a lot of this wasn't even scenic last year. After you come out of the Reading Yard, it comes out in this back track back here. Comes around into Beltline Junction. And this is a CP belt, or control point belt. This area is probably the most complete as far as scenery goes, track work and such. I got a little bit of detailing to do yet. Not a lot, but some. Recently made a couple new plastic industrial type buildings. This one here is actually a scratch built paper building. This is a Walther's, I think it's a beverage warehouse or something like that. Again, these are not exactly in their final locations necessarily, and I got to do the groundwork around them as far as the parking lots and such. But it pretty well is completed as far as the configuration. Here, I failed to mention, these two tracks here are Norfolk Southern. on the belt line that runs around the west side of Reading. This track bearing off here to the left, that's the Reading and Northern Main Line. Connects to the Norfolk Southern at this point. And this is Muhlenberg Township, actually, the north end of Reading. And this is relatively complete. I have some detailing to do. The backdrop is not completely painted. There's another Walther's building. I think this is supposed to be like a strip mall or something like that. This building here is a scratch-built paper restaurant. These buildings in the front here represent an industrial park at the north end of Reading. It's not anything like the real one, but it suits me. Here we're going into the old, well, what was my original layout? 9 feet by 11 feet in this room. I had to fight my way around an electrical box, electrical panel. The trackage here is representative of the North Reading yard. There's a total of 6 tracks up here. They're not all in place yet. Again, I painted all this backdrop this light blue, and I haven't done any clouds here or background hills or anything of that nature. This corner here is representing Tuckerton. You got Woods Furniture, and this is Packaging Corporation of America, PCA. And in the back here used to be Cryovac. They make some sort of plastic packaging products. They would be receiving primarily covered hoppers. PCA would be primarily box cars. And the Woods Furniture would be box cars and flat cars, center beam and such. This overpass here in this highway represents U.S. Route 222, which runs through Tuckerton, crosses over the Reading and Northern. And here the railway passes over the Schuylkill River. And if you look at my last video, you can see that I added a lot of trees and shrubbery and such to this area. It's probably about 90% complete as far as it goes over to here. This is the Core-Mart foundry core making facility. It's not really completed yet. It's just sitting there, and you notice the backdrop. I started painting background hills and clouds on it. Again, it's not quite finished, but not too far off. And here the railway passes over Old Route 22 and swings around the end of a peninsula. And here I added a lot of trees and shrubs, underbrush. And here in the corner we've got a small hobby farm. Farmer Brown is out here in his pumpkin patch or squash patch, trying to figure out how he's going to load these buggers in the back of his pickup truck, because they probably weigh about 300 pounds apiece. So the railroad continues over a level crossing. And as far as I know, there's no particular name to this area, except the railroad has a control point right here where the siding takes off, and they call it Muller. That's in honor of the founder and owner of the railroad. That's Henry Muller Jr. I painted this background. Again, it's on 1/8" masonite wrapped around the framework. The groundwork is primarily just painted foam with some ground foam on it and a little bit of static grass and foam foliage. Here's the swing gate across the entrance to the room. And now we're coming into Port Clinton. A lot to do yet in Port Clinton. I've got all the track work down. But I even want to make a couple modifications on that because I've got these number 8 turnouts here are Atlas, and I have locomotives that tend to stall on the frogs because I didn't power them. So I'm seriously considering replacing the Atlas with some Pico Electro Frog, so I don't have problems with loss of power. A building here, a small building here, this is the car shop. The Reading and Northern now, the real railroad, has added an additional shop onto the back end here, which I would have room to put in, but geez, I got so much other work to do that I probably won't put it in, okay? In the back, this is the diesel locomotive shop. And you can see my collection here of Reading and Northern motive power. A lot of it is here. This is the headquarters station building. This is the dispatch office. And this is the administrative building, which isn't finished yet. Got a lot of work to do on it. And over here is a coach yard. Eventually there will be a shed roof or a platform roof above it, part of the way out. Here you get to the north end of Port Clinton, and I love this signal bridge, but those suckers are expensive. I think it was $30 for this little N-scale bridge, NJ International. And as you can see, it's not very big. Now the tracks here curve around the end of this hill, and that connects back over and runs up to the Schuylkill Haven and Minersville area on that branch. This leg here will go across the Schuylkill River again. Actually, at this point, it's this is actually the Schuylkill River, I'm sorry. The little Schuylkill comes off to the right. I've got it covered over here. There you can see. The little Schuylkill flows in here. And this is the town of Port Clinton would be back in this area over here. This is about as far as I've got any track work done. The Reading Northern Steam Service Facility, along with the turntable, will sit in this corner here. And it will continue on around, and this area here, which is directly above the Beltline Junction, this area will be Molino, which is north of Port Clinton. Nothing is really done here. I started adding some road bed, and the rest of this is just stuff I have sitting around because I have no better place for it. And that's the end of the track as far as I went. Now I have to add an additional layer, additional level all the way around in this room. It'll follow basically just covering directly over top of the existing layout, and it'll come over here into this part of the room above Port Clinton will be the borough of Tamaqua, and that will be primarily the main operating area on the layout. Will be the Tamaqua above and Port Clinton below. From Tamaqua, the line will come back here toward the wall, curve around, run across the back, and end up in a staging yard directly above the branch line that runs to St. Clair. This corner over here, which you can tell there's absolutely nothing there yet, there will be another large anthracite coal processing facility. And there's a tail track that will run just about where this shelf is, maybe a little bit higher. So there you have it. Please come back, join me again in another year, or maybe sooner. We'll have another update, and I have a little bit more then to show you, I hope. Thank you. Happy modeling.